obstacles. Radha and Krishna finally they met together on the bank of Jamuna in the forest of Vrindavan. Jaya Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Jai Girivaradhari Jai Girivaradhari Oh Jai Girivaradhari Jai Girivaradhari Oh Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari 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 Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Jai Girivaradhari Jai Girivaradhari Jai Girivaradhari Jai Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandanam Braja Janaranjana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandanam Braja Janaranjana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandanam Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandanam Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandanam Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandanam Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiruvana Jai Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tiruvana Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tiruvana Jai Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tiruvana Jaya Kunja Bihari Oh Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Jai Girivaradhari Jai Girivaradhari Jai Girivaradhari Jai Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Madhava Madhava
Madhava Radha Madhava, Radha 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 Madhava Radha Madhava,
Rupam tasagajamuripurim maturim gostvati Radha kundam girivaram Oho Radhika madhvasam Rapto yasya pratita kripaya Sri Guru Tam Natos Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namo Ananda-Dham Maya Vigrahaya Hey Mabhadivyachavi Sundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasapradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Bhaktya-vina Aparadavakshay Shri Kama-vimohan Kripa Maitvam Kanaka Jaladagatto Nilasonabjanitro Margamadavara Bahalo Malati Kundamalo Tarala Tarula Vesho Nila Pitambaresho Smarani Britani Kunjai Radhika Krishna Chandro Smarani Britani Kunjai Radhika Krishna Chandro Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Devi Tam Nayama Sarati. First of all, I offer my Sastang Dandavat Puspanjali, my heart like flowers thousands and thousands of times, at the lotus feet of my holy master, my supremely worshipable spiritual guru. Asmadaya Paramaradatam Guru Pada Padma Nitya Leela Pravisht Om Vishnupad Ashto Tarasata Shishimat Rupanugacharya Varya Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami. Secondly, I offer my pranam thousands of times at the lotus feet of my Param Gurudev, to Srila Prabhupada and all of our Sri Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Parampara. And finally, I offer my pranam to all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis.
Hari Hari Bol.
This morning, by the causeless mercy of Sri Guru and Gauranga, we had the opportunity to hear and chant and remember about the Leela Chudamani, the crushed jewel of all Leelas, about Kama-vimohan Leela, the pastime, hearing which one overcomes all calm, all worldly desires. When Indra became proud of being the king of heaven, that time Sri Krishna cut his pride by lifting Giraj Govardhan. The time when Brahmaji became proud of the power of his intelligence, at that time Sri Krishna did kama-vimohan Leela and bewildered Lord Brahma. And at the time when Cupid, Kamadev, the demigod, who has conquered the whole world and is piercing everyone's heart with the arrows of lust, he had conquered even Shiva, he had conquered Brahma, he had conquered Narad even. So he was thinking, I am invincible. At that time, then Sri Krishna, he did Rasa-lila and cut the pride of Cupid. Because those who will Vikriditam Rajabadu Vidangcha Vishnu Sradan Vitanu Srinayad Atuvanayadya Bhaktim Param Bhagavti Patilabhikamam Hridrogam Ashu Pahino Chachirena Diraha. Those who with strong faith, they will continuously hear and chant the beautiful pastimes of Sri Krishna with the gopis of Vrindavan. Then, though they are still affected by avidya, but Bhaktim Param Bhagavati, Parabhakti, transcendental Prem, that in the very mood of those gopis will enter into one's heart and destroy all influence of avidya, all influence of kam, and one will become dhira, completely sober. Oh, one who is dhira means one who accepts the conclusion of the scripture. We have heard Brahma Bhuta Pasanatma Nasochati Nakankshati Samaksarveshu Bhuteshu Madbhaktin Labate Param. When one is Brahma Bhuta, completely liberated. When one is free from all hankering and lamentation. When one sees all living entities equally, after that he attains bhakti. But Srimad Bhagavatam tells, no, even you are not liberated. This pastime, hearing this pastime is so powerful, bhakti will come first. And then it will drive away all anarthas. So one who is dhira, that means who is free from nama parad, who does not commit offense to the holy name, and does not commit offense to the scripture by being faithless, and not believing that bhakti can come before the stage of liberation, and make you liberated as a anusangik, incidentally you will be liberated. Then that person is called dhira, sober. So Sri Shukadeva Goswami, he had narrated the pastimes of Krishna in babyhood, in childhood, and in his youth, some pastimes, and now come to chapter 29, first verse of the Rasa Panchadhyaya. Sri Badarayani Uvacha.
Sri Badarayani Uvacha.
Together. Bhagavana Pitaratri Sharanutfulla Malika Viksharantam Manaschakri Yogamaya Mupashrita. Some versions of Srimad Bhagavatam say Sriha Sukha Uvacha. Shukadeva Goswami said. And many explanations of this we heard there in Shravanam. But Patanta, another reading, gives Sri Badarayanir Uvacha, the son of Badarayan. Vyasadeva is Badarayani. Why did Shukadeva Goswami? Why did Vyasadeva write this? That Badarayani Uvacha, Shukadeva Goswami is speaking and call him Badarayani. Because Srila Vyasadeva is called the Badarayan because he is doing his tapasya, his bhajan in Badrik Ashram, high in the Himalayas, doing very hard austerities, living only on the fruit of the Badri tree. Have you seen this fruit? It's very small.
Yes.
If you came on parikrama, in Adibadri, in Braj, there on the top of the mountains, these fruits are also growing. And so, and Srila Vyasadeva, being completely in trance, he did austerities also in order to beget a son. And that son should give benefit to the whole world. So the fruit of Srila Vyasadeva's tapasya was Shukadeva Goswami. Yam praprajantam anupaitam apaita krityam. From the moment he was born, he was completely detached. He just walked out of the home and into the forest without looking back, without even heeding the words of his father begging him to return. So, Sri Badarayani Uvacha. Now we will hear about the beautiful romantic pastimes of Krishna and the gopis of Vrindavan. Don't think that this has anything to do with worldly lust or with worldly relationships and attachment and attraction, because Sri Badarayani Uvacha, how can it be that that person who was from birth had no attachment, who was the fruit of the austerities of the author of all the Vedas, wants to speak about any lusty things? Impossible. So everything that will be discussed after this, Sri Badarayani Uvacha, it is completely nirgun. It is the vilas of Chit Shakti, the play of Sri Krishna's internal potency. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikriti Ladini Shakti Rasman. The loving affairs of Radha and Krishna are the Vikriti, the transformations of Ladini Shakti, the Maha Shakti, the greatest of Sri Krishna's internal potencies. Bhagavan api taratri. Bhagavan api although Krishna is Bhagavan, Taratri, on those nights, Shard Utfulla Malikaha, it was Sharad season, the autumn season, when the moon is at its most translucent, its most effulgent, because during the summer so much dust goes into the air, so the moon doesn't seem so bright. But then the rainy season comes, and the rain clears all the atmosphere, and then when the Sharad season comes and the full moon appears, it's the brightest moon of the year. And the rays of the moon, Utfulla Malika, cause the Malika, jasmine flowers, to blossom. Here, the meaning is that actually in the autumn season, jasmine flowers do not blossom. So, there's definitely something supernatural happening. Something extraordinary. That the flowers of all the seasons are blossoming now, within season and without of season, are all blossoming at once. This indicates the excellence of the Udipana for rasa to take place. For rasa to be experienced, there should be sthayi bhav, the foundational loving ecstasy. There should be vibhav, that which stimulates the love, such as the full moon and the flowers in the forest. There should be sattvic bhav, anubhav, sanchari bhav, transitory assisting emotions. So these 5 ingredients of ras mix together and produce an astonishing taste. This is called a rasa. So Shukadeva Goswami, just very briefly, by describing the excellence of the Udipana, of the Vibhav, that is that even the beautiful flowers are blooming out of season, by Kaimutik Nyai, by the logic of Kim Uta, what more to say? If the Udipana are so excellent, then what can we say about the Vishaya Lamban and the Asraya Lamban, Sri Krishna and the gopis of Vrindavan? They are super excellent. When Krishna saw the romantic vision of the forest in the moonlight, then Viksha Rantum Manas Chakre. Viksha means after seeing. Rantum Manas Chakre. Chakre, he made up his manaha, his mind, Rantum, to enjoy romantic pastimes. It's very, very deep. In Sanskrit, verbs can be conjugated as Atmanepada and Parasmaipada. Parasmaipada means the transitive verb, which has an object. And the Atmanepada also has an object. But when the Atmanepada form of the verb is used, then the benefit goes to the person who is performing the verb. We can give an example. For example, we can say, Krishnaha Rukminim Harati. Krishna, Harati, stole Rukmini. But here Harati, this is Parasmaipada, which means that Krishna stole Rukmini for the benefit of Rukmini. He did it for her, because as we heard yesterday, he just stole and he decided what he would do. Later he will decide whether to marry her or not. So he stole Rukmini for her benefit. So Krishna ha Rukminim harati. But Ravanaha Sitam harate. Ravan stole Sita. Here not harati, harate. This is Atmanepada. That means he stole Sita for his own benefit. So here, Viksharantam Manas Chakre. Chakre is in Atmanepada. That Krishna made up his mind to perform the romantic pastimes of Rasa-lila for his own benefit. Then one may say, but how is that possible? Because he is Bhagavan, and Bhagavan is Atmaram. He is completely self-satisfied. So he does not need to do anything for himself. Then why is he doing this Rasa-lila? What benefit does he get? So, We can answer this question by a simple analogy with the famous verse of Srimad Bhagavatam that was explained in 61 different ways by our Sachinand and Govind. Atmaramascha muneyo nigranta apyurukame kurvanto hoitu kim bhaktim itam bhuta gunohari. Atmaramascha muneyo, those transcendental personalities who are Atmaram, self-satisfied, completely independent, they don't require anything. And the Munis, liberated sages, they never act out of any personal desire. Nigranta apyurukrame, they are nigranta. The knot of ego has been completely untied. And they are liberated from all dependence, from all necessity. But apyurukrame korvanto hoitu kim bhaktim. Even those Atmaram, self-satisfied sages, they render devotional service to Sri Krishna. Why do they do it? Itam bhuta gunohari. Because Sri Krishna has such astonishing, transcendental qualities that even liberated Atmaramas, they become attracted. They become drawn towards him. They forget about Brahman. And they engage in bhakti, and this bhakti furnishes them with very beautiful spiritual bodies in which they can serve him eternally. So the Atmaramas, the self-satisfied ones, they give up their Atmaramata and they become fully engaged in devotional service because Itam Bhuta Ganohari, Krishna has astonishing, indescribable, ecstatic virtues. So here in the same way, Bhagavana Pitaratri. Even though Krishna is Bhagavan, that means he's Atmaram. But Viksharantam Manaschakre, he made up his mind to perform the romantic pastimes of Rasa-lila. Why? Itam Bhuta Gano Gopi. Because the gopis of Vrindavan, even for the Supreme Lord, who astonishes all the Atmaram Rishis, the Supreme Lord himself is struck with wonder, bewildered, and in a state of utter astonishment and disbelief, seeing the beautiful qualities of Radhika and the gopis of Vrindavan. Therefore, Yoga Mayam Upasritaha. He took complete shelter of Yoga Maya. Yoga Mayam Upasrita. It is very, very deep. Sri Krishna is the abode of Viruddha Dharma. All contradictory characteristics mutually coexist within him. We know that God is Sarvagyata, Sarvagya. He has the quality of Sarvagyata, omniscience. God knows everything. Yet his omniscience becomes an obstacle to his relishing the rasa of being the son of Yashoda, of being the friend of Subal Sridham and others, and of being the beloved of the gopis. If he will know that he is Bhagavan, that he is God, then some Santaras can be there, some Dasiras can be there. But even Sakyaras, friendship, which is founded upon feelings of equality, it cannot manifest. What to speak of Vatsalyaras, which is founding on feelings of I'm totally dependent on you and you gave birth to me. And the Madhurya Ras also would be vitiated by Dasya Bhav if the beloveds of Krishna were to know that he was God, or if Krishna were to think that he was God. So, Krishna of Vrindavan, he's mugdha. That means bewildered. Like an ordinary person. You may think that you're not bewildered, but really, relatively speaking, in comparison to being omniscient, we are really bewildered. For example, we don't know what will happen 5 seconds from now. Perhaps an aeroplane could crash here into the... No one knows what's going to happen next. So we are completely blind to the next moment. And that because of that, we think, what will happen? And then all types of emotion come, excitement, anticipation, fear. These experiences cannot be experienced by one who is sarvagya. You see, as soon as sarvagyata is there, then all the rasa, all the sentiments, they become impossible. So because Krishna raso vai saha, the Supreme Truth is the embodiment of rasa, then being covered by his lila shakti, he forgets his bhagavata and becomes mugdha. Now he's curious, he's excited. What will happen next? What will happen if I do this or say that and so on? At the same time, if we say that Krishna is mugdha, bewildered, then here we are in this world and we're praying and chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And he cannot hear our prayers. So then what's the use of doing bhakti? On the other hand, if we pray to him and he hears our prayers and blesses us, then he cannot be Raso Vaisaha, the son of Yashoda in Vrindavan, relishing human-like pastimes. So, our acharyas explain that Krishna is inconceivably and simultaneously Sarvagya and Mugdha. Both qualities, though they are complete contradiction and is inconceivable to us, both qualities exist eternally in Krishna. Therefore, the devotees here in this world, they pray to him, Hey Krishna Karuna
Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute.
And he hears you. He hears you. But at the same time, in his lila there, then in another dimension, is mugdha, and he does not know what will happen. So, in Raga Marg, in our bhavana, in our meditation, because Krishna reciprocates with everyone. If you want to know him as Sarvagya, all-knowing, he'll come to you in that way. But if you are doing bhajan with a desire to know him as, to serve him as a very sweet and vulnerable young boy in Braja, then he will appear in that form. So in our Raga Marg, we are concerned with the Krishna who is Mugdha. Let Lord Narayan be Sarvagya. He is God. And Krishna is the son of Nanda and Yashoda. We are concerned with this feature of Krishna. Therefore, Srila Vishnu Thakur said, the Paribhasha Sutra of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Trayopanishad Vischa Sankhya Yoga Chasatvatai Upagiyamanam Mahatmyam Harim Samanya Tatmajam. Even though all the Vedas are glorifying Krishna, he is the goal of all the practices of yoga and to be searched out through Sankhya philosophy. Yet still, Mother Yashoda, Harim Samanya Tatmajam, she thought, he was born from my womb. That means, Yanmachili Lopaika Soyoga, he's a mortal child. All the Brijbasis, they have this abhiman. And only they can participate with him in his Braja-lila. If one does not realize or relate to Krishna in that mood, then one cannot stay in Braj. Iti drika swalilabe ananda-kunde swagam nibhajantam akyapayantam tadiyeshita yeshu bhaktajitatvam punaprematastam satavriti bhande. Satyavat Rishi said, by such sweet pastimes as Krishna stealing butter and being bound by Mother Yashoda, Krishna is drowning all the residents of Gokul in pools of bliss, and he is loudly announcing to the whole world, hey you yogis, you jnanis, and you Aishwarya Bhaktas, I am never conquered by any of you. I can only be conquered by the love of those who never see me as Bhagavan. I can never be controlled by the love of those whose love is weakened by knowledge of my opulence. So we are concerned with Yashodananda. In Rasa-lila, we hear how Sri Krishna expanded himself into so many forms. And the gopis were all dancing with those forms. Radharani also saw them. Then, how will Radhika and gopis be in the Madhurya Bhav, seeing such a display of opulence? How will Krishna himself think, I am the son of Nanda and Yashoda, and feel fear if they reject him, feel separation from Radharani, if he himself is expanding into so many forms? So in this lila, it appears that there is Aishwarya Gyan in Brajagopis and also Aishwarya Gyan in Krishna. But this lila is the lila Chudamani, the crushed jewel of all lilas, and it is extremely and exclusively purely sweet. How will we reconcile this mystery? If it can be reconciled, then some possibility of access to that confidential realm presents itself before us. Sri Krishna played upon his flute. And we heard this morning how Brajagopis, whatever they're doing, they left everything to meet with him. So, some of them, they were sadhan siddha gopis. And they had some relation with their husbands. Because of this, Yogamaya checked them. They tried to leave the house, but their husbands stood before them with their sticks in their hands, threatening them, and would not let them leave. So for those gopis, dusaha prastaviraha, tivrata padauta shubha, jnana prapta achuta shlesha, prakshina kshina mangala, nivritya kshina mangala, tameva paramatmanam, jara buddhyapi sangata, juhu gunamayadayam, prakshina Shinabandanaha. Shukadeva Goswami is saying, when those gopis were hearing the sound of Krishna's flute and became maddened to meet with him, they were checked by their husbands and they could not go. Dusaha prastaviraha. They experienced an intolerable fire of separation from their beloved Krishna. Dusaha prastaviraha. By the intensity of that fire of separation, then Dauta Shubha, all their Ashubha, inauspiciousness was burnt. And Nivrityakshina Mangala, and all their piety, the auspiciousness, was also completely depleted to nothing. By what? Dhyana Prapta Chutashlesha. In their meditation, due to separation, they saw their beloved Krishna appear before them. And they experienced tightly embracing him. And they felt such joy. So generally when persons translate this verse, they say all their bad karma, their impious karma was burnt and their pious karma was burnt. Tameva Paramatmanam. Although Krishna is Paramatma, the Supreme Soul, Jara Buddhyapi Sangata, they had Jara Buddhi. Some persons think, the gopis, that they know that Krishna is God, but they're just not concerned with that. But here Shukadeva Goswami is saying, no, Jara Buddhyapi Sangata. They think that Krishna is their illegal and secret, illicit, beloved. If he were God, then there would be nothing illegal. Jara means a paramour. If a woman has a secret beloved other than her own husband, then he is called Jara. So it is said, Jara buddhi api sangata. That's how they thought of Krishna. Juhu gunamayam dayam. And they gave up their body. And they were released from all bondage. Shukadeva Goswami explained in this way, and the common people think that they became free from their good karma and bad karma, and then they died, they gave up their body and they got liberation. But this is not the meaning. Because it would be very inauspicious if so many gopis all died on the Sharad Purnima. So this is not what happened. The inner meaning is this, that by the fire of separation, then all the pain, all the inauspicious circumstances which cause suffering in the world, if they were all added together, of all the suffering of all the living entities in the whole world, in every planet in the universe, in every universe in existence, in the past, the present, and all the universes in the future, if all that pain were combined together, then the pain of separation gopis felt at that moment defeated that pain. And then in their separation, which was so intense, the spurti of the very beautiful Swarup of Krishna appeared. And then they embraced him. Nirvityak Shinamangala. And they felt such Nivriti means Ananda. Incredible joy that all the happiness that any living being in the whole world has felt in the past, present and future in all the unlimited universes, that was diminished to zero in comparison to the happiness that they felt at that moment. Juhu gunamayam dem. And they gave up the body means that Yoga Maya had superimposed a material body on top of them, on top of their spiritual body. It cannot mean that they got free from karma, because your pap, your karmas, they are destroyed. As one is a sadhak in this world going through anartha nivriti, then your prabdha karmas are going even. Yad Brahma Sakshad Kritinishtayapi Vinashame Aiti Vinana Bogai Apaiti Namas Purnena Tate Prarabdha Kameti Viroti Veda. Srila Rupa Goswami said, all the Vedas loudly roar that the moment the holy name touches your tongue, all your prabdha karma is finished. Yet even one leaf on the tree of your prabdha karma, it cannot be plucked by resolute meditation on Nirvishesh Brahman for thousands of years. So these devotees who have become gopis, in their previous life they have chanted all, so there's no question of their karma being removed. So this is the actual meaning, that Yoga Maya superimposed Gunamaya Deha, a body made of the gunas, and that was what their husbands had touched. And in their completely pure, immaculate and pristine, eternal spiritual bodies, they ran to meet with Krishna, unseen by anyone, while their relatives looked and saw that they were still there in their homes. So they ran to meet with Krishna. And as we discussed, Krishna joked with them somewhat by telling them to go back, but then he accepted them, and Radharani arrived. So then, Yugal Kishore, Radha Krishna, and their Sakhis, they're very eager to relish the rasa dance. They're decorated so beautifully with ornaments made of fragrant forest flowers. Krishna's hair is tied up in a top knot, and Radhika's hair is in a braid. They walk along the bank of the Jamuna, arm in arm, with their arms around each other, and one arm of each of them is freely swinging. Krishna is holding a flute, and Radhika is holding her Lila Kamal, play lotus. They're surrounded on all sides by their Sakhis. Some of them are playing veena, some are playing mridanga, some are playing kartals. They're singing in beautiful rag. The manjaris with baskets of flower petals are walking in front of Radha Krishna and throwing them, and so Radha Krishna walking through the brightly colored confetti. How beautiful. And other small manjaris are walking behind, very proudly carrying golden caskets with different types of ingredients like kumkum and chandan and kasturi, ready to render various services. Although Radhika herself is decorated with so many bhav alankars and so many jewels, Dwadash Abharan, 12 types of golden ornaments, and Sola Shringa, 16 types of cosmetics. But the manjaris are singing sweet songs with very secret meanings that cause Radhika to feel embarrassed. And in this way, they decorate her with embarrassed expressions through their kirtan. So in this way, Radha Krishna are moving along the bank of Jamuna. At that time, Radha and Krishna, they sit down upon a beautiful jeweled throne. Divyad Brindadanya Kalpadrumada Srimad Ratnagara Singhasanastho Sri Sri Radha Srila Gurudeva Prishthani Sevamana Smarami. I remember how Sri Sri Radha Govinda are being served by their associates as they sit on a Ratna Singhasan, a jeweled throne. Some manjaris are sitting and massaging their lotus feet. Another manjari is coming with sandalwood paste mixed with various fragrances and smearing the cool sandalwood paste upon their bodies. Some are Ganto Vimala Manoharini Niti Radha-Krishna Premohini. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said, I will string together a most beautiful garland of flowers and then I'll hand it to my Sakhi, Guru. And that Sakhi will approach Radha and Krishna, and from a distance I'll look in awe as she places the garlands around the necks of Radha and Krishna. Some gopis are making jokes full of different innuendos and causing everyone to laugh. Some are taking jeweled ornaments which are tied with strings and tying these different jeweled ornaments on the bodies of Radha and Krishna. Some of them are taking chamaras or fans and making gentle breezes, very skillfully, standing on the side of Radhika and wafting the fragrance of Radhika into the nostrils of Krishna. Tambulapana padamadana prayodana visana. Some of them are offering tambul. Some of them are singing in Panchama Raga, that is a very romantic raga, in which Sarigama Padani Sa, Re, Raivat and Da, Re, Rishabh and Da, Daivat, these two notes are Varjit Swara, they have to be forbidden in the Panchama Raga. One manjari is holding a parasol made entirely of fragrant flowers above the head of the divine couple. Radha and Krishna, they're speaking with each other and making very outrageous jokes, causing everyone to burst out into laughter. One manjari comes forward with a tray, and on the tray there are different triangular packets of tambul, all arranged according to different flavors. So she's coming there, and Radha Krishna are looking and choosing one. And then one by one they're trying all the different flavors of tambul. And another young manjari is standing at the side with a golden spittoon, because before you try the next flavor you'll have to put the tambul rag into the spittoon, like this. Another manjari is bringing cool and fragrant water from the Jamuna. And as all the different Sakhis are surrounding Radha Krishna and serving them, Sri Sri Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prashtali Sevamano Smarami. As Radha Krishna are receiving service, they're also distributing prasadi. One manjari comes and Radha Krishna, they take off their garland and give a garland to her, or give a necklace with a locket. Some are giving the chewed tambul. Some are giving gifts of ornaments. Some are receiving a secret whispered into their ear. Some are embraced. And some are praised by Radha and Krishna for their glorious services. So in this way, there's a beautiful exchange. How the Sakhis and Manjus are serving Radha and Krishna, and how Radha and Krishna are gracefully distributing their prasadi words, their prasadi remnants, their prasadi ornaments, their prasadi garlands. So a flow of nectar is taking place there. So then, Radhika was looking at her Sakhis. Lalita, Vishaka, Chitra, Champakalata, Induleka, Tungavidya. And Radhika, very confidentially, she spoke to Krishna. She said, "O Pran Priyatam, my most dear beloved, more dear to me than my own life, all these girls who have come here this evening, they are feeling the pain of the arrows of Cupid. And I don't want them to feel even the slightest discomfort whatsoever. I don't want them to feel even a particle of distress. So what can we do?" Krishna thought, yes. Perhaps I can help. But there are so many. And Krishna is the son of Nanda Maharaj. Remember? Radharani said, "Please listen to my suggestion." Krishna was all ears. Radharani said, "Once, when I was a little girl, I was doing puja. I was worshipping my Ishta Devi, Yogamaya. And after worshipping her for some time, Yogamaya appeared to me and she gave me a benediction. She said, 'Whatever sankalpa you make, that sankalpa will become true.' And then she blessed me by saying, 'May you attain a pati, a beloved, who has ananya anurag for you.'" Ananya! When the hero is ananya to his beloved, that hero is called Anukul. So, in the definition of Uttam Bhakti, Anyabhlasta Shunyam Jnana Kama Ternam, Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam. We only serve that Krishna, who has Ananya Anurag, who is Anukul Nayak. So, Radharani said, "When I was a little girl, I worshipped Yogamaya. And she blessed me, whatever sankalpa you make, it will come true. And she blessed me that I would have a beloved who has Ananya Anurag, one-pointed attachment for me. And she also blessed me that I would share that Ananya Anurag for him with others." Now if you try to do the maths of that, it's impossible. So, that undivided attachment, he will love me with that, and I will share my undivided attachment for him with others. So Yogamaya gave me this benediction, which was very enigmatic, very paradoxical, and difficult to understand. So one day, I sat and I was meditating with great enthusiasm. Meditation requires enthusiasm. It looks like you're sitting there, but actually it requires great enthusiasm. Radharani said to Krishna, and meditating with great enthusiasm, I went into samadhi. Then, in my samadhi, even without doing any deliberation, because there's some vichar, deliberation, in the asampragyata samadhi, some deliberation goes on. So I went into samadhi, but I was not deliberating, but suddenly a sankalpa, a desire, came into my mind. It just spontaneously appeared there. I don't know where it came from. I felt an awakening of indescribable longings. I had a vision, Krishna, that you had expanded into many, many different forms. And that I had expanded into many, many different forms also, which were all actually different, variegated forms. And in this way, I was serving you, pleasing you, and loving you in so many different ways, all at the same time. This sankalpa just appeared into my mind. So then at that time, one of my Sakis came there and saw me in Samadhi. And she came and she just hit me with her hand. Hey, Priya Saki, what are you doing? So then when I was slapped by one of my Sakis, my Samadhi broke. And then I opened my eyes and I looked around and I began to laugh. Oh, the benediction that Yogamaya gave to me has already become true. In other words, that sankalpa, when Radhika opened her eyes, because of the blessing of Yogamaya, she began to feel that each one of her Sakis was her very self, playing in a different way, just to love Krishna in different ways simultaneously. So Krishna was listening to this, and he was thinking, this is very astonishing. Then Radharani said to Krishna, now I will meditate again. And you should feel free to enjoy sweet pastimes with all of my Sakis. They are the embodiments of my beauty. So then Radharani, with a very gentle smile on her face, she sat in meditation and closed her eyes. And then as she went into Samadhi, the son of Nanda Maharaj, this boy of Vrindavan, felt himself miraculously and mysteriously expanding into many forms. And in each form, he began to play and enjoy pastimes with each gopi. So in this way, Yogamayam upasritaha. Radhika thinks, I am an ordinary village girl, but I got a benediction from Yogamaya. And Krishna thinks, I am the son of Nanda Maharaj. But this Radharani, she has got some blessing from Yogamaya. I don't know what's happening to me, but suddenly Krishna finds himself everywhere, in so many forms, meeting with the Braja Gopis. In this way, the madhurya, the mugdata, everything is maintained. This is our Gaudiya vision. Yogamayam upasrita. For this lila, then Krishna is in the shelter of the power of Yogamaya. So then, Krishna was playing here and there with so many gopis. He went into one kunj, one gopi was there waiting for him, but she was very shy. It was her first time meeting with him, and she was shyly looking down. And Krishna came, very courteous and gallant hero. He said, why are you afraid? I not do anything. You should not have any anxiety in the presence of your own swajan. We are like family. Please accept this garland. Accept this sandalwood and these fragrant oils. And Krishna was treating her with great respect. In another place, Krishna was lying down on a bed of flowers, pretending to sleep. And the gopi snuck up on him. And she came very close and was looking. And suddenly, and grabbed her, and they began to embrace and laugh together. Somewhere, Krishna was enjoying with so many gopis, and afterwards he was making jokes about how their hair was in a mess, how their garlands were broken and their ornaments were scattered here and there. But the gopis, they became abhimani, they became very Tasam tatsumagadmadam vikshamanam chakeshava. They became intoxicated with their own sense of good fortune. So when Krishna saw this, he disappeared. At that time, gopis are weeping. Where did you go? And they were searching for Krishna through the forest. Though they are searching for him through the forest, in separation inwardly, at every moment they are experiencing the spurti of his beautiful form. So they're outwardly looking for him, and inwardly they're also seeing him. So gopis, they became mad, and they began to ask the trees if they saw, where did Krishna go? Chuta priyala panasasana kovidava jambaka bilva bakalamra kadamba nipa yenye parava bakut bhavaka yamunopakulaha samsantu Krishna padavim rahitat manamna. Oh mango trees, oh kadamba trees, oh jackfruit trees, have you seen Krishna going this way? He's stolen our hearts. You are so tall, you can see a very long distance. So tell us, can you see which way he went? But the trees gave no answer. So then the gopis thought, oh, the vrikshaha, trees, they're male. So males can never understand the heart of a female. So they're not talking to us. The gopis continued to wander through the forest looking for Krishna. And they saw Tulsi there. Kachit tulasi kalyani Govinda charna priye satwali kula biprad drishaste ite priyachyuta. They told, oh Tulsi Devi, you are so dear to Govinda. Have you seen Sri Krishna walking this way, wearing a garland and being followed by humming bees? Have you seen him? But Tulsi Devi gave no answer also. Then they thought, oh, because Tulsi is always decorating the lotus feet of Krishna, she has no experience of what separation is. So how can she understand our feelings? And because she's always touching Krishna, she must be stunned with ecstasy, so she's not even aware of what we're saying. So gopis continued to search. Gradually, they found the footprints of Sri Krishna. And they began to follow those footprints as if it were a trail of nectar. And then, gradually they saw the footprints of Krishna, and next to Krishna's footprints, the footprints of Srimati Radhika. Then the gopis who were Sakhis of Radhika, they were overjoyed, because from the footprints they could understand, they could reconstruct what pastimes had taken place. Where they saw the footprints of Krishna, only the footprints of Krishna there were very deep. Then they realized, oh, he must have picked up his beloved and was carrying her. When they saw only the toes of Krishna, they thought, here Krishna must have reached up on his tiptoes to pick flowers. Where they saw Radhika's feet like this and Krishna's feet like that, then they could understand that Krishna was turned Radhika around and was holding her between his thighs and was decorating her hair with the flowers that he picked. So only seeing these signs, then these signs are udipana, and they're causing a spurti. They're actually having internally a spurti of the beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna in Sringarvat. You have perhaps seen there's a beautiful painting in Sringarvat. Krishna is behind Radhika decorating her hair. And Radhika, on the pretext of looking at the decorations in the mirror, is actually looking at Krishna as he's decorating her. So, as they went further, they saw a broken garland. They saw a scattered bed of flowers. They saw a ripped choli, a ripped bodice. And seeing all these things, they became overwhelmed in ecstasy. So at that time, Krishna was trying to go more deeply into the forest. He didn't want the other gopis to discover him alone with Radhika. But Radharani was feeling very great compassion for her friends. And she wanted her friends to catch up and they should also play with Krishna. So Radharani, feeling compassion for her friends, she said, "Oh my beloved, I cannot walk any further." Then Sri Krishna said, "Alright, then I'll carry you. You should sit on my shoulder." And then just as when she was about to sit on Krishna's shoulder, then Krishna disappeared. And the disappearance of Krishna was such an intense emotional shock for Radharani. At once she cried, "Ha nata ramana presta, kwasi kwasi mahabhuja, dasyaste kripanayame, sake dasha sandhitim." Oh my Raman, oh my Prishta, my most dear beloved, whose arms are so strong, where are you, where are you? This wretched maidservant is longing to see you. Please show yourself to me, my dear friend. And Radharani fainted. She fell to the ground unconscious. When she fainted, Krishna was astonished. And he quickly came back and he lifted her up. And then by the touch, the nectar of his touch, Radharani came back into sense. And then Krishna disappeared again and she fainted. So just then, the other gopis arrived and they saw the very pitiful state of Srimati Radhika. They revived her with cool water and then they began to wander together, all gopis wandering together on the bank of Jamuna. And in words which were indistinguishable from the sound of weeping, they began to sing Sri Krishna's glories and beg him to reappear. Jaya Jaya Dikha Janmana Gaja Shrayata Indira Shashwadatahi Daita Drisyata Dishuta Bhakas Twainita Krishna from a hiding place was watching the gopis singing in separation from him. And he was worshipping them indirectly by drinking the nectar of their words. Finally, when Sri Krishna could no longer tolerate the pain of separation that they were feeling, he quickly appeared again there in their midst. Tasamavera Bachori Smayamana Mukambuja Pitam Baradrashari Sakshan Manmata Manmata. And he was so extraordinarily beautiful at that moment. He had never in his life appeared so beautiful. Why? Yanmatilila Upaika Yoga Maya Balam Dashatagritam. It is Yoga Maya that manifests the sweet human-like form of Sri Krishna. So because Krishna was in so much anxiety when he reappeared, thinking that I have hurt their feelings so much by disappearing, that perhaps they'll not accept me, they'll reject me, and then I will die. So Krishna was feeling so much anxiety that Yoga Maya made him at that moment more beautiful than he had ever appeared before in his entire life. So that when the gopis saw him, there was no way that they could resist his sweetness. Yoga Maya is always helping Krishna. So at that time, one gopi came forward and took the arm of Krishna and put it on her shoulder. Another gopi came and fell at the feet of Krishna and then took her braid and bound his feet with her hair so that he couldn't run away again. One gopi came and was repeatedly kissing his face. Another one came and held his, because he appeared like this, holding his pitamba in his hands. And one gopi came and held his two hands as well. So one was holding his hands, one was holding his feet, just to make sure. One gopi was standing at a distance and looking at Krishna with unblinking eyes, and she took Krishna into her heart and she was embracing him. And Radhika was standing far away. She was thinking, I'm not going to him, he should come to me. And she was not even facing him, just shooting him with the arrow of her lance. So then some Sakis took their manjus, they took their anchal, their veils, and laid them on the ground, one another, like this, and made a very comfortable asana, and invited Sri Krishna to take his seat there. This is our Gopinath, Tota Gopinath, sitting like that in Rasa-lila. Then a very beautiful conversation took place about the nature of love. And when it was concluded by Krishna's admission, his confession, Na parayam niravaja samyajam swa sadhu krityam vibudayo shapima ya ma bhajantu jaya geya sankala samrisha tadva patiyatu sadhuna. Oh my dear gopis, I can never repay you for your love, which is one-pointed to me. I don't have such prey. So just be compensated by your own glorious qualities, your sadhuta. That means, what is the reward for loving Krishna in the way that the gopis love him? The reward for that loving service is the love itself. It requires no reward, because that love itself is the highest embodiment of Paramananda-amrita. So then, they were eager to begin the Ras dance. It had kind of started, but it was interrupted. Now they actually wanted to all dance together. So they came onto the bank of Jamuna, and the sand of the even today the sand on the Jamuna looks like powdered camphor. It sparkles in the moonlight like powdered camphor. And there were humming swarms of bees. Peacocks were dancing and calling, cuckoo birds were singing. It was a very beautiful atmosphere. Then gopis began to sing, play musical instruments and dance. Krishna began to dance with them. Tatra tishu shubhethavi Bhagavan Devaki sutaha madhye maninam hemanam maha marakato yata. Shukadeva Goswami said, at that moment, being surrounded by the gopis, Krishna looked excessively beautiful. Depending on which associate Krishna is with, he shows a particular amount of beauty. Now he's with Radhika and with all the gopis, his maximum beauty is manifest. Maha marakato yata. The gopis are like shining like gold, and Krishna has a bluish complexion, but Jatan ki chai pare sham harita duti hoy. When the golden effulgence of Braj gopis falls upon the bluish sham-colored body of Krishna, then he looks like an emerald. He becomes like a green complexion. So, because all the gopis, seeing Radhika's separation was far superior to their own, they all honored her, and by honoring her, her bhavs were reflected in them. So when they began to dance, it was like a spectacular dance performance that was all perfectly choreographed. Because every gopi was tadatmik with Radhika. So what she was feeling and how she was dancing, they were all expressing in unison as they danced around. So this dance itself is the expression of rasa. Therefore Lord Brahma has said, Nija Rupa Taya Kalavi. Radhika is Nija Rup, Krishna's own form, and the gopis are her kala, her expansions. Their ankle bells were ringing in time with the music. The demigods in the sky began to play instruments also and shower flowers. Their bangles were ringing. They shook their hips and their waist bells were ringing. And all these bells were mixing with the sound of mridanga, kartal, conch shell, veena. And the dancing was getting faster and faster. Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala,
Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala,
Govinda Govinda dancing was increasing.
Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala. Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala. Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala. Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala. Satyapurani Manohara Nandalala. Murali Manohara Nandalala. Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala. Radhe Govinda Jaya Sri Radhe Govinda. 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 Radhe Govinda Jaya Sri Radhe Govinda.
And as the ecstasy was increasing, the speed was increasing again. Faster and faster, everyone was singing and dancing. Millions and millions of cupids burst out laughing and began rolling on the ground. How the romantic rasa was spreading everywhere. Then the moon became stunned in the sky. Usually the moon is slowly moving, but the moon above Chandra Sarovar, it stayed, it became stamba, it would not move. And this one night became Brahmaratri, Bhagavanapita Ratri. It became all the nights combined together in a night of Lord Brahma, billions of years. All the oceans and all the rivers became stunned. Even all the trees, all the trees and all the animals, they were experiencing sattvic bhavs in the forest. The dancing became faster and faster, and Gopi's hair was tied in braids. It became undone, and their cloths began to slip. Their skirts began to slip down, revealing their hips. And they were completely drenched in perspiration. So at that time, Sri Sri Radha Govinda, Govinda came, and with his own cloth and with his own hand, he began to wipe the perspiration, dry the perspiration on the bodies of the gopis. And Radhika with her own hands was going around, and she was retying all the knots in the clothing and retying the hair of the gopis. And when their perspiration had been dried and they were retied up by Radhika herself, then they looked even more beautiful than ever before. So in this way, Anyonye Vishuddha Prem Kori Rasa Pushta Tasabara Prema Deki Krishna Hoy Tushta. Sri Ramananda Rai said, when Krishna sees the mutual love between the gopis for each other, then the rasa is nourished and Sri Krishna feels completely satisfied. So then, Radha and Krishna came in the middle and they challenged each other to a competition. Who can express the highest level of arts in dance? So first, Sri Krishna, he began to dance in a particular rhythm with particular moods. And then he stopped. Then Radharani, she did the same, but with extra alankars, extra embellishments. And then Krishna, and then Radharani. And in this way they were expressing their love for each other. And the artistry of their dancing and their expression of Prem was going higher and higher, that all the gopis around the outside were watching. They just became stunned like figures in a painting, beholding the ever-increasing expressions of love of Radha and Krishna. So then, the ecstasy was spreading so intensely that the forest of Vrindavan, because all the trees and grass, everything it's all alive, that they were also watching the Rasa-lila, and they all became unconscious. The whole forest fainted in ecstasy. And then suddenly, as all the gopis were standing there like statues, unable to move, and seeing the exchange of love of Radha and Krishna, there was a sudden explosion of rasa. And Krishna in many forms, with millions of gopis, all began to dance even faster than ever before, at a very frantic pace. And there were millions of different types of, new types of kissing and new types of embrace were invented at every second, moment by moment, in thousands and thousands and millions of different ways. And as the dancing and embracing and kissing reached its crescendo, then everyone fainted and fell to the ground. The peacocks fainted, the trees fainted, all the birds in the trees, they also fainted, they were lying on the ground. And all the Braj gopis and Krishna also, everyone became limp and unconscious, and there were just bodies scattered everywhere all over the Rasmanda. Bale Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki Jai, Jai Sri Radha. This is the rasa dance. For a long time, everyone, gopis were just scattered here and there all over the floor, unconscious. And then gradually they came back into external consciousness, in a state of ecstasy. And then Krishna called them, let's go in the Jamuna. Tabi yutasramapo itamanga sangha gristastra jasva kucha kunkuma ranjitaya gandhava pali bi anudata avisadva santo gajibe ibarari vabinna setu. Shukadeva Goswami described how Krishna, with his garland crushed and smeared with kumkum from the bodies of Braj gopis, like the king of elephants surrounded by his mates, and followed by a swarm of bumblebees who were like Gandharvas singing his glories, Sri Krishna entered into the water of the Jamuna. And all gopis entered into the water with him. And they began to relieve themselves of their fatigue in the cool waters and play and laugh and splash water upon each other. So then, when they came out from the water, they were dried by the maidservants who were standing on the bank watching everything. And then Radha and Krishna were decorated in a pushpavesh, in an outfit which was made entirely of flowers. And then Radha and Krishna entered into one kunj and lay down to rest. As they were resting, some maidservants were massaging their feet. Some maidservants were fanning with chamaras. And then, after Radha and Krishna were sleeping, then those manjus also, they lay down to sleep there. So it is said that if someone will sing the glories of this unparalleled pastime of Rasa-lila, then all the objectives of life, dharma, artha, kama and moksha, they will see that they are rolling on the ground at your feet, begging to serve you. But the devotee even kicks them away. I don't need any. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So this is the meaning. Viksha rantam manaschakre yoga maya samaritaha. Even Krishna himself, he is surprised. He did not know what he was letting himself in for when he entered into a relationship with the daughter of Vishubhanu Maharaj. She has some mystic powers from the blessings of Yoga Maya, which enable him to fulfill all dreams and everything also beyond his dreams. Bale Vrindavan Vyai Lal ki